So I just got the RG40XX H in to take a look at today. So what I want to do is do a quick unboxing, compare it to some of the other XX devices Anbernic has released, and discuss who I think this one may be best suited for. Now I also wanted to touch on another Anbernic handheld that was released earlier this year that I just never got around to reviewing, the RG35XX H. And the reason for that is it's impossible to talk about the 40XX H without looking at the 35XX H as well because of their similarities. Now, me not reviewing the 35XX H wasn't a negative about the handheld itself, I just never got around to it. It actually turns out that the 35XX H is the one that I've put in the most gaming hours into in the XX line. If I had to create a headline for a review for the 35XX H, it would be great budget handheld with a generic design. Its design is a bit unoriginal. Anbernic literally copy-pasted a design they did before, the design of the 353M. They just created a plastic shell of that handheld and shoved an H700 in there. Okay, so it might be a little more complicated than that, but you know what I mean. The 35XX H isn't as iconic as the DMG-inspired 35XX Plus, nor is it as nostalgic as the 35XX SP. It's just a piece of glass surrounded by some controllers. That being said, it is the most capable in the XX line. With its dual analog sticks, it allows for uncompromised N64 and Dreamcast emulation. Now, all the XX devices can technically run N64 and Dreamcast games, but without analog sticks, the experience isn't the best. The 35XX H also has a wider frame and inline shoulder buttons, making it one of the most comfortable and compact in the line. So yeah, it's a bit boring, but boring in a good way, if that makes sense. It's a gamer's handheld, it's not trying to be anything but that, and that's okay. But Anbernic isn't shy about taking another stab at something they mostly got right, and I think that's where the 40XX H comes in. The 40XX H is everything the 35XX H is, a great but kind of generic looking horizontal retro gaming handheld, just a little bigger. So does that make it better? So let's do a quick unboxing and pricing. Full disclosure, this one was sent over to me from the folks at LitNXT.com. They specialize in selling retro handhelds and devices that cater to folks like you and me. So check them out if you are interested in this or any of the handhelds you see in this video. On their website, this retails for $86 US, but if you use the discount code below, you can pick it up for less. So at that price, it puts it in the sub $100 category. The black one was sent over for review, but it also comes in a DMG gray, which I also think looks really cool, and a vibrant blue if you're feeling a little bit more adventurous. Now, there are no surprises in the box. We have the device itself, an instruction leaflet, and a USB power cable. For some reason, Anbernic did not include a screen protector this time around, so just be aware of that. You will need to source one yourself if you want to keep that screen in great shape. As I mentioned in the intro, the design language borrows heavily from the 35XX Plus and also incorporates the curved sides and the LED analog sticks of the RGCube. The plastics used here are the same across the line, decent quality. It's not smooth, it has just a bit of texture to help with fingerprints and slipping. Doing a tour of the device, on the back, left, and right, there is nothing of note. On the top, you have your L1, L2, R1, and R2 buttons. Unfortunately, these are not analog, which is likely one of the ways Anbernic kept the cost down. I think this is a fair compromise since we don't really need analog triggers for the majority of systems this one is capable of playing. You also have a volume rocker, a power button, a reset button, and a mini HDMI port. On the bottom, you have two TF card slots, one for the OS and the other for your ROMs. You also have two downward-facing stereo speakers now, just like the 35XX H. Now, the front of the device is where you get the key difference between this handheld and the 35XX H. The 40XX is only slightly larger, and only weighs just a few grams more. But for that difference, you're getting a 4-inch IPS screen versus a 3.5-inch screen on the 35XX H. These are both 4x3 devices with the same resolution. Now that half-inch doesn't sound like much on paper, but in the real world, it makes a huge difference in terms of eye comfort. I suspect most who are trying to decide between the 35XX and the 40XX would probably prefer the 40XX H because of the larger screen size. Control-wise, the D-pad is the standard one Anbernic has used for quite some time now, including on the 35XX H. It's good, but not as good as the one on the RGCube, for instance. It will get the job done. It works well on my fighting game tests and platformers. I think most will be satisfied with it. The same goes for your analog sticks. These are your typical Switch-style sticks. It is nice to have them on here as they allow for the play of N64 and Dreamcast games without any weird compromises you have to make on some of the other devices that do not come with these on here. The ABXY buttons use rubber membranes, so they feel good with a decent amount of travel. They're also a good size as well. If you like LEDs on your handhelds, well, the 40XX H is the only one of the two with that feature. Now you do have the option to customize them with the built-in software. You can change the colors or even just turn them off altogether. Overall, these are good controls. For the price you're paying for this handheld, you really will not be disappointed. So as I mentioned before, this is powered by an all-winner H700 processor like all the other handhelds in this line. So performance is exactly the same as the 35XX SP and the Plus I previously reviewed. So all your 8, 16-bit systems and arcade games run without any issues on here. They look great, and really this is the reason why you get a 40XX H. Regardless of which system you're a fan of, the Super NES, the Genesis, the GBA, the GB, or arcade games, the games run near flawlessly on here. And if you're all about how the games look rather than external aesthetics, for instance, the 40XX is the best way to play these games in the XX line. That 4-inch screen is enough of a reason for you to pick this one over any of the other XX devices in Anbernic's line. So another thing that is great about the 40XX H is that it plays N64 and Dreamcast games well due to the dual analog sticks. Prior to the 40XX H, I would have recommended the 35XX H over any of the other devices in the line if those libraries were important to you. You could have played these other games on the SP and the Plus devices, but it just felt like a compromised experience. The analog sticks, while not of the highest quality and not Hall sticks either, are good enough or better than not having them at all. So if you're looking at playing through Dreamcast generation of games and below, and analog sticks are absolute must for you, then this is one of the best current available solution in the XX handhelds for playing these games. So in the introduction, I asked the question, does size alone make this a better handheld than the 35XX H and the best horizontal Anbernic handheld in the XX line? And the answer for me at least is yes. Because of the size, the 40XX H is more comfortable and easier on the eyes because of that 4-inch screen. Now, if you already have a 35XX H, I don't think there's enough here to warrant the upgrade. But if you're in the market for a horizontal budget handheld and trying to decide between the two, the 40XX H is the way to go. So do you agree with me? Are you picking up a 40XX H or are you considering any of the other devices like the SP or the Plus? Let me know in the comments below. A huge thanks to LitNXT for sending this one out for review. Check them out in the links below and help support the channel if you're considering purchasing any of the handles you've seen in this video. Or at the very least, like and subscribe. Take care and I'll catch you in the next video.